Opinions, finance, advice. 960 KNEW AM HD Oakland, San Francisco, and online at 960KNEW.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Church Night on the... No, it's tomorrow night. What's tonight? Is this Tuesday? I guess I've just got, the Catholic Church thing on my brain a little bit too much. Okay, it's not church night. That's on Wednesdays. This hour is being sponsored by IssueWonk.com. IssueWonk.com. Here's the message. Hey, all you fat cat Wall Street types. We know how busy you are. What with all your investment scams to run, your vacation homes to buy, and NRA meetings to attend, keep up with all the latest issues so you can know when it's time to liquidate and bugger off to the Cayman Islands. Subscribe to the Issue Wonk and stay out of prison. It's free. IssueWonk.com. Thanks, Issue Wonk. Gosh, where to begin tonight? I think it was it last night that I asked, why in the world do we care about what happens to the South African athlete Pistorius? Pistorius, is that his name? To the extent that it makes just endless news coverage here. I mean, yes, it's another example of the global epidemic of violence against women. Yes, of course it is. But is there not enough here to cull through? What is it about this case? Is it because of his distinction as the first athlete to use artificial legs to run? The first one to qualify for the Olympics on prostheses. Is that the way you pronounce plural? I don't know what it is. I really don't. But I got an email from Andre. And he says very quickly, so I'm watching PBS NewsHour. And the Pistorius trial was featured, and the anchor asked a South African journalist why South Africa does not have a jury system. Well, it was abolished in the 1960s as a way for the state to control those who dissented. Sounds like doing away with habeas corpus and the executive wanting military trials in this country, right? South Africa has these abridgments of freedom now because it's a police state. Andre writing his opinion of South Africa. Do you know, it got right past us. I don't know if you're aware of, I was reading ginandtacos.com. ginandtacos.com. No, don't try that at home. Trust me. It's a pretty interesting blog site. I think Bob Alexander turned me on to it. But the writer there mentioned that we just passed the 10th anniversary, 10 years ago, that Colin Powell made a speech to the UN Security Council about Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction, right? 10 years. Now, we don't have to get into how all the claims and all the so-called evidence was used to grease the wheels of the war machine. And the grease that was used, as you know, was either deception, disinformation, misinformation, or absolute, total, complete, outright lies. But as ginandtacos.com points out, we owe it to ourselves. We don't have to get into that. To hell with that. But we owe it to ourselves to remember how badly the media collectively failed us. And as pointed out at ginandtacos.com, not one major newspaper or news network responded to Colin Powell's theatrics with anything remotely approaching skepticism. The obsequious, totally credulous editorials read like onion articles today, or read like onion articles today. The New York Times was probably the soberest, merely noting that, quote, Mr. Powell's speech was all the more convincing because he dispensed with apocalyptic invocations of a struggle of good and evil and focused on shaping a sober, factual case against Mr. Hussein's regime, end quote. Now, in contrast, the Washington Post titled its staff editorial, the Post editorial, irrefutable, noting that, quote, it is hard to imagine how anyone could doubt that Iraq possesses weapons of mass destruction, end quote. That was the unsigned editorial. On the same page, Richard Cohen, don't you just love him, stated that, quote, the evidence he presented to the United Nations, some of it circumstantial, some of it absolutely bone-chilling in its detail, had to prove to anyone that Iraq not only hasn't accounted for its weapons of mass destruction, but without a doubt still retains them. Only a fool, Cohen wrote, or possibly a Frenchman, could conclude otherwise. Oh, those French. Huh? Those French. And then the Washington Post foreign policy expert, Jim Hoagland, chimed in, quote, to continue to say that the Bush administration has not made its case, you must now believe that Colin Powell lied in the most serious statement he will ever make, or was taken in by manufactured evidence. I don't believe that. And today, neither should you, end quote. Now, I know that you nor I keep track of this stuff, but apparently ginandtacos.com does. Both Hoagland and Cohen still have the same job today that they had 10 years ago. Because, you know, why wouldn't they? Right? I mean, well, why wouldn't they? And as Gin and Tacos points out, if you think shame prevents them from writing about the need to invade Iran now and eliminate its nuclear weapons, just Google either Hoagland, Hoagland, or Cohen, Richard Cohen, and just steel yourself for, I don't know what, this surge of what? We believed that 10 years ago, which I'm sure you'll find. So anyway, Gin and Tacos proposes that every year, February 5th should serve as the Yom Kippur of American journalism. You know, Day of Atonement, a total TV news blackout for 24 hours while the editors, producers, on-air talent, fact-checkers, and other assorted minions devote themselves to confessing their sins and seeking forgiveness. Newspapers should run the headline, quote, "We failed and it cost 100,000 lives," end quote. And run no content except detailed descriptions of every pre-war claim that turned out to be false or fabricated, but was reported anyway without any corroboration beyond anonymous government sources. So as a result of the incompetence of our great news media, several 100,000 people are now dead. We have spent $1 trillion on nothing, and the big winners, the oil companies.
Everyone's just trying to make ends meet. You can brighten up their day, keep the facts out of their way. Just simplify the complex, repeat, repeat, repeat. Propaganda, propaganda. If you need to change the subject, it's a dandy. If you want to wag the dog, it's like falling off a log.
This is the Mike Malloy Show on 960 KDW and online at 960KDW.com.
Try and convince the folks at Beach.